Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. This is the latest in a series of videos designed to show how the US media have continued to slide for Donald Trump, including those casting themselves as critics. We are talking of the likes of CNN, ABC, CBS, and MSNBC, who pretend that they are critical of Trump, while in actuality, they are bargain basement Fox News clones, dumbing down, mitigating, or gaslighting the truth. The sad thing is that while the likes of Fox News are doing it to further their commercially expedient political ideology, their clones are doing it just for the money and in abject betrayal of their professional integrity. Today, we present Stephanie Ruhle, another in a long line of MSNBC hosts purporting to be progressive independents who are often leading the criticism of Trump and his policies, but what they are in fact doing is normalizing his most outrageous and unhinged policies for sensational content. In this video, which is purportedly a criticism of Trump's tariff policy, Stephanie and her panel of journalists are careful not to point out that the tariffs have no economic basis and cannot possibly be taken at face value. But nevertheless, she and her panel go on to discuss the tariffs at face value just like they did on the Ari Melber panel we featured in our previous video. Despite the preponderance of world-leading economists and institutions in the US, MSNBC somehow manages not to include them in panels repeatedly discussing the tariffs as if they are economically viable. How's that for balanced journalism? For the record, tariffs cannot be used for wholesale balancing of trade like Trump is proposing. They can only be used in limited circumstances to curb specific items that represent a nanofraction of imports. They cannot return labor-intensive manufacturing to the US. Nor can the US compete with those countries where the cost of production is significantly lower, because the standard and cost of living is so much lower than in the US. The US that is the biggest beneficiary of the globalization that it founded and promoted as a trade-off between goods and services. With labor-intensive manufacturing devolving to poorer nations while the richer nations headed by the US would extend their services across the world. So, the fact that the US media including MSNBC are framing the dystopian debate around the made-for-television pleas of a US community that had by design lost out on an American policy that had made the US the richest nation in the world is just astonishing. But nevertheless, Stephanie and her colleagues are hell-bent on framing the domestic discussions about tariffs around the timeline without acknowledging that the policy was stillborn, just so they can monetize the public's ignorance. So, if you are Fox News and such, you lie about how well the tariffs will work once the exporters start eating them, and if you are MSNBC and such, you focus on how long it is taking to effect the policy that was stillborn, just so you can sell false hope to your audience. Trump's policies were founded on made-for-TV slogans, which the media were happy to lend credibility to for sensational content, in the mistaken belief that in the 11th hour they will be found to have been just for show. So, we find Stephanie discussing the impossibility of meeting a deadline that everybody but a sad proportion of American public knew or should have known was dead from the outset. The candidate who came to power saying he could secure a truce between Russia and Ukraine in 24 hours, used tariffs to restore manufacturing to the US, then declares as president that he will sign 90 deals in 90 days and, Stephanie and friends proceed to discuss how far behind the deadline he is, as if there was ever any chance or intention of securing a truce in 24 hours or 90 deals in 90 days. Stephanie set the standard for this fake discussion by making the oxymoronic declaration that something Trump's congenitally truthful press secretary said was likely to happen was in fact confirmed to happen.
Today, the White House press secretary confirmed that Trump and Chinese President Xi will likely talk later this week.
How can it be confirmed if it is likely?
And here's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to say yesterday. Watch.
I am confident that when President Trump and Party Chairman Xi have a call, that this will be ironed out. But the fact that they are withholding some of the products that they agreed to release during our agreement, maybe it's a glitch in the Chinese system, maybe it's intentional. We'll see after the president speaks with the party chairman.
Why he's so confident, we do not know. And it is not just China.
He is so confident because he knows how much the media are willing to slide for Donald Trump. It is easy to project an implausible outcome from a most unlikely event to a complicit media that are reporting as if the event has been confirmed.
All right, with that, let's bring in our lead-off panel tonight. Lou Broadwater is here, Pulitzer Prize-winning White House correspondent for the New York Times. Susan Glasser joins us, staff writer for The New Yorker, and David Drucker, senior writer at The Dispatch. Luke,
It is instructive that the MSNBC panel was exclusively made up of 3 journalists who make a living writing about Trump, without any economist or financial expert present.
Start with you. All that I just went through comes with just about 1 month to go before Trump's self-imposed tariff pause goes away. So put China aside, where are we on all the potential trade deals with the rest of the countries?
We don't have a lot to show for it. If you'll recall, the White House promised 90 deals in 90 days. I think we have one, the United Kingdom. That is not the type of progress that was promised to the American people as a minute. Maybe it's true that Trump will get on the phone and a deal will be reached. Sometimes that does happen. But by the White House's own deadline, we are about 89 deals to go, and we're running out of time.
So, is it not in a madhouse that 90 deals in 90 days is a credible promise, and not a catchy slogan that a complicit media helped to amplify? What do you mean by one deal with the UK? You mean a deal to agree to do a deal in the future now counts. Along with another possible deal in the future after a speculative phone call that may be true, that it is likely to take place sometime in the future, that has been reframed as confirmed by an obsequious journalist eager to slide for Trump. Is this what journalism is nowadays?
And we should note that even the deal with Great Britain was in name. We do not know any details, and what we do know of the deal, we're not gaining more than we already had. Susan?
So, we are at the level where the obsequious host has to rein in the slimier panelists.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Steph. I mean, remember, one of the ways in which Trump has justified this overarching upending, really, of the global trade order is by invoking the presidential emergency powers. As you know, he's invoked everything from an emergency at the southern border to using this on the economy. And it's not going to be resolved, let's face it, by the beginning of July, one way or the other. So,
the second panelist comes on to undermine the obsequious host, and the slimier panelists claim that a deal could yet be reached after a phone call that may be likely to take place next week had been confirmed by the obsequious host herself to set the scene for the discussion. Is this some 11th hour bid for journalistic integrity? Let us continue and see.
There's the question you posed at the beginning here, which is about trade deals. Not only are there not 90 in 90 days, it's impossible to really reach anything more than accord to keep talking about an actual trade deal with any of these countries. I think that's important to underscore. Even with the deal with Great Britain, that's really what it is an agreement in principle to keep talking about the actual deal. So Trump hasn't even gone that far. But even if he did,
oh dear, sounds like she's just saying that it will take longer to flog the dead horse to life. Oh well, guess that's the current journalistic equivalent of offering a different point of view.
David, I've had one question for about 100 days. With the exception of Donald Trump and Peter Navarro, who are the voters? Who are the leaders that love these tariffs? Because the New York Times reported that leading conservatives pushed a court to block Trump's tariffs. What does that tell us about where the Republican Party really are when it comes to these tariffs, because for every business leading Republican I talk to, they're sort of holding their nose, holding their ears, holding their breath and dealing with Trump on the tariffs, but none of them are gung-ho behind it.
Yeah, that's correct. And that fits with the business people that I've talked to, business owners who have been impacted horribly by the tariffs, even though they were or are broadly supportive of Trump when it comes to things like tax cuts and deregulation. But the political question you ask is, I think, the important one. And Trump isn't really feeling any political pain from all of the economic uncertainty that these trade wars are causing. Grassroots Republicans are behind him. His approval ratings with them are at about 90% Republican voters broadly, which means when I talk about the grassroots Republican base, they're even happier with the idea of what Trump is doing and happy to give him all sorts of latitude to deliver on this 90-day pause, and I'm sure the next 90-day pause that we'll get after this one expires. And trade deals, which can take several months to years to accomplish, aren't yet completed. Republicans in Congress are also giving him latitude. They're not fighting him. Why? Because their voters trust Trump more than them, and they're focused on the reconciliation package. So Trump can be very sensitive to political pushback, but he's not getting any right now.
Well, I just don't know how this reconciliation package gets paid for. Luke, new topic.
Yes, Stephanie, you are absolutely correct. How will the reconciliation package get paid when the economy is tanking under the pressure of the tariffs and heading for a recession? And David, the reason Trump is not feeling any political pressure from his supporters is that you and MSNBC have led them to believe that Trump can flog the dead horse that is called tariffs to life. As long as he keeps flogging his good. The longer it takes for the penny to drop, the worse the damage that is inflicted. But at least you'll have plenty of sensational content as the walls come tumbling down.